Well, hi. Live from the Horror Score studio, also known as our living room. Welcome to another episode. We're your hosts, Jesse and
Vanessa.
And this week's episode is
Attack of the Killer Donuts.
And I love the box and the back of this movie.
This is some wonderful cover art. I love that.
Yeah. Well, it had me at the cover, which I know has gotten me into trouble in the past.
Some good marketing though. It's a great title, like concept and cover art.
Yeah,
which is enough to sell me on a horror movie.
Most movies with Attack of the ... they're hit or miss. And you're going to find out soon how we felt about this one. But first, we did something very special. Before we get into this at all, we're going to take you to an arts and crafts section of our show where we did something for our viewers. A little special treat for you. We're going to go to that now. Well, this is the first time we've done this. We had a little challenge. We decided, what can we do special for Killer Donuts? What did we come up with?
Make killer donuts.
We made our very own killer donuts. We're going to share those with you now. We gave ourselves a challenge. We had a time limit. We had to use only things from around the house, starting with one donut, changing it into a homicidal killer donut. You want to show us yours first and talk about it?
Sure.
All right. Tell me about this guy.
Well, my killer donut is kind of like an accidental killer. He's more like a Lenny type. Like if you look at him, he just really wants a hug. And then he hugs too tight, you know?
it's a death hug. It's a death hug.
Next thing you know, you're dead. But he doesn't mean it. So.
All right. That's not a bad donut. Looks better than some of the donuts in this movie. Not all of them, but some of them, for sure.
Say all of them.
Okay, maybe. I'll tell you about mine. He's more of a Cenobite donut, the kind of killer donut he's not gonna chase you down. He's not gonna bother doing any theatrics. He's gonna hide under your bed, and he's gonna slowly start chewing on you after you have fallen asleep. But yeah, take a look at this guy. He's got all sorts of teeth. He's got some scary eyes, and yeah, he's got some blood running out of his mouth and some slime. Yeah, he's cute. He's an adorable killer donut.
Yeah. See, mine is like he'll make you a friendship bracelet out of your entrails or something.
So these two donuts are we're pretty proud of these. Mine is made out of all edible parts. Your arms don't look edible.
No, we have plastic.
Are you
forks.
already eating yours?
No, it was some frosting.
She's already eating hers.
It was an accident.
Okay.
So yeah, just a double chocolate donut with some icing, and I used the prongs off of a couple plastic forks to make his teeth, and the ends for his little ears, and that nothing wasted, right? So he's got these little arms right here, hands, bloody hands, and a couple of little sunflower seeds for his nose.
If you want to take the Killer Donuts challenge, all you got to do is buy a donut, change it into a scary monster, and send it to our Facebook or Twitter or whatever, however that works. Share it with us in whatever form you can. We're going to go back to scoring this video now. So hopefully you enjoyed this ridiculous little art project that we took on, making
fun.
some killer donuts. And I'm gonna enjoy eating this thing later.
Welcome back.
Oh, we're back already.
Yes,
That was fast.
You can tell us in the comments who wore it best. The double chocolate or the vanilla frosted donut.
I was hoping our donuts could team up and be on the same team, but apparently they're adversaries where one has to be better or worse.
Well, they're killers.
Okay.
Only strongest survive.
Whichever donut you think would win in a fight, comment below. All right, so we got this movie directed by Scott Wheeler, who brought you movies such as a Transmorphers sequel, and Avalanche Sharks, and he's brought us another gem. With Attack of the Killer Donuts. So we're gonna get into story right away, and we're gonna start with how Vanessa felt about this movie.
Story-wise.
Yeah. Only the story.
It's your really annoying male protagonist rather, who just hates his life, and he has this girl who's his best friend, and then he's dating this really terrible woman who just uses him for money, and this best friend woman, She's basically just wears like an oversized work shirt. So like, how could you see her as a romantic lead, right? Like,
at least she didn't have overalls and a ponytail. So yeah, we're talking about Johnny and Michelle, the two employees of Dandy Donuts, where everything breaks down and goes out of control.
But his uncle, apparently, they work at this donut shop, but his uncle is a scientist.
Of course.
Who, for his research, borrows the donut shop's laptop, because why not? And his whatever formula that he's been working on ends up in the donut fryer later.
Well, this is clearly a Reanimator like formula. This movie does have a lot of movie references in it, and we do start with a very Reanimator like scene of a syringe of the green stuff that this Uncle Luther has. What did you score this story?
I gave it a 6 for story.
All right, well that's fair because I also gave it a 6. Nothing new here, but you kind of don't know where the story's gonna go. You don't know when someone's gonna die, when they're not, or if they're gonna die. They go to places that don't seem to make any sense for the plot. Like, oh no, we're in trouble. Let's go to this random house for a few minutes.
Business. I never see anybody pay for a single donut.
Nope, they give free donuts to everybody at Dandy Donuts, and the only customers in there are just terrible people.
This woman like orders a donut, and then they give her like a dozen donuts. That's 11 free donuts, and I don't know how you're trying to make a profit, but I didn't even see her pay for the one. So,
and also I was a little heartbroken that every donut in the background of every scene was obviously very old. So much like our props today, these are old donuts because we were going to film this the other day and we didn't.
Oops.
And I bought a couple of donuts and they've just been sitting out. So
we're on a diet. We're not allowed to eat them anymore.
Yeah, you may have noticed from previous episodes, we have lost nearly 55 pounds together. So we don't eat donuts
Over
anymore.
55.
Over 55, under 60. So in the future, we are going to do, when we hit 60 pounds, we are going to review Stephen King's Thinner. Spoiler alert.
You just spoiled it.
I spoiled it.
Spoiled.
Yeah, but we didn't say when. You don't know if that's going to be episode 22, 27. They have no idea. Let's move on and talk about the villains. These cute little suckers. I like them, but they've got flaws as like a villain. One of the things I don't like about them is you don't know their motivation besides they're just evil because they're monsters.
And they sound like the Minions.
I think that's cute. I think the Minions are adorable. But these donuts, they don't seem to have an agenda where they'll just kill everybody and then for no reason just not kill somebody. And you're like, oh, why didn't they kill that person? And then later on, they'll just kill that person for no reason.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because if it's just like absurd and they're just like anarchist donuts,
that's fine.
Killing as they please, whatever, that's cool. But then there are these weird scenes where there's clearly a donut leader and it's a pink donut. This pink donut is the leader and he's got his troops all lined up. He's giving motivational speeches and I'm like, okay, so there's clearly a drive. These donuts have a want. They're fighting for something.
We never learn what that is. So I gave the villain an 8. Though they are cute, they make me smile a couple of times.
I also gave it an 8.
So far, we are tied. We have given this the same score. We score these separately on these categories. I had no idea that she scored it an 8 as well. So I guess it's important to move on to horror since this is a horror movie. In this movie, by the way, it is not rated. And like any NR movie, I get a little bit excited because they're not...
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, they're not getting attacked by censors. So, like, maybe there's a ton of swears. Maybe there's some...
It's just some full frontal.
Yeah, maybe we get a lot of nudity. But actually, this movie, we get very little of anything. We get a little gore. We get a little bit of gore. But otherwise, don't know why this movie wasn't rated. Would you give this gem?
I give it an 8.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of really funny deaths towards the end, and they got more creative with how the donuts were actually killing people. There's actually a couple different ways that the donuts can kill you. So there's, your kind of vampire way where they just like bite you to death and they all hog pile.
Right. Sometimes people are just covered in donuts and you don't know how they're dying. They're just
and they're all
dead. They're covered with donuts.
Making squeaky noises and stuff. But then also if you eat one, you get like violently ill.
They are poisonous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of bathroom humor in this.
Yeah, you poop yourself inside out if you eat one.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so... and if you get bit by one, you turn into one. That's not true. That's not true at all.
You
That's
made
a lie.
that up.
I made that up. But that is a shtick that I do like in monster movies, that when you are bit by a certain type of monster, that you over time become that kind of monster. It does not happen in this movie. I was just
It's a metaphor for the cycle of abuse, really.
Now, I scored this a 7. So one less than you. So currently that puts your score higher than mine. I gave it 1 point for each death, as there were no scary moments. There's no spooky moments. The movie is fun sometimes. A lot of the jokes fall flat, but it is a campy horror movie. And I will watch this movie again, likely at some point. Just, it's not really strong on the horror, but I stand by the 7.
Oh, the humor, though. Sometimes it was really bad. Sometimes they just they were like, oh, here's a funny, successful movie. Let's just pull their most famous quotes and repeat them in moments that it doesn't make sense.
There was a scene of 3 gentlemen insulting Johnny over the counter, and their back and forth insults were very much like a sophomore in high school wrote the dialogue.
My favorite one. She's owning you, Conrad, because of course his name is Conrad. But second, are you just gonna let a chick talk to you like that? She's totally owning you.
That's how people talk, right?
Yeah.
Want to move into effects?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
What do you think?
Oh, I'm starting? All right. I'm ready to start effects. This was my highest category for the movie. Some of these are puppets. Some of these are practical effects donuts, and some of it's CGI. And sometimes the CGI looks really bad, and sometimes it looks okay. So, due to the fact that there are good things about the effects in this movie, I gave it an 11. There are moments that you can be proud of. The donut shop is terrible. It's a horrible set. I don't believe that that's a functioning donut shop, and they spend so much of the movie in there that it is a little distracting. Like, how is this even a store? How is this a place? What'd you give it?
I gave it 10.
Okay.
Same for similar reasons, like the good and the bad CGI, but also there's some really cool like surfer music that I thought was just kind of unexpected and fun. That kind of helped distract me from some of the less funny points in the movie.
Okay. So we're going to move into our final category, which is the S factor category. In this category, we can award between 0 and 20 more points to this movie for whatever reasons we choose, so long as we justify it. So do you want to go first or second?
Okay.
All right, take it away.
A lot of gas in this movie. That'll get you so many points for me. So there was just a really funny death that I don't want to spoil for anybody, but that gets a lot of points for me. Also, and this is weird, there were a few scenes where I felt like the storyline was turning kind of like porno. Like those odd setups to like pizza guy porn and that kind of thing.
Oh.
Like
I didn't get that vibe at all.
There were a few scenes where like his mom is like this really hot older lady, and his friend goes over to his house without him there, and turns out they were in love. But also just like the two of them working at the donut shop together, and like putting on their uniforms together, and I don't know, there was always just this feeling that it was about to turn into something more.
They were afraid to push the envelope in this not rated horror film, though, so we get nothing like that.
It got 12 points out of me for that weird feeling I kept getting.
All right, well, I only gave it 5 additional points in the S Factor category. There is a Jason mask Easter egg in the trunk, and there were several memorable movie quotes that, even though that they slapped them in sometimes where they didn't belong, we got a couple lines from other movies like "Winter is Coming." I know it's not a movie, but and "Keep the change, you filthy animal," as well as a few others. So it got 5 more points from me. So before we total this up and give you our final scores of Attack of the Killer Donuts, we're going to turn to Vanessa's one-sentence synopsis.
Donuts are usually a slow, silent killer, but not in this film, where the bathroom was never close enough.
Well, all right, now that you've heard that, let's total these up. I gave this movie 37 horror score points, which I know, if you're used to grades in like schools, 37 out of a possible 100 is a terrible score. It's not necessarily a terrible horror score. It's definitely not a super F. And actually, this movie scored higher than I thought it would. So though I gave it 37 points, I looked on IMDb, and it just so happens that it has a 3.7 out of their 10-point scale. So myself and all of the IMDb users scored this movie almost exactly the same.
Yeah,
so,
why do you even need us?
Yeah. So how'd you score it?
I got 44 points out of me.
Which, in checking out some of this movie's stats, Rotten Tomatoes has this at a 43% from 75 users. So you've scored it very similar to the people at Rotten Tomatoes, almost on the dot.
See, I can be generous sometimes in my scoring.
So that gives us a combined total of 40.5 reasons to maybe check out Attack of the Killer Donuts. Definitely not the worst Attack of the Killer whatever movies I've ever seen. Would you watch this again?
Yeah, I'd show somebody this.
Yeah, all right. I'd give it a second watch as well. So, in the future, continue to check us out, like and subscribe and all that stuff. Give us 15 minutes. We might save you 2 hours.
Stay spooky.
Oh, so good.